The Veiled Tapestry Book 1. Threads in the Dark. Chapter 3. A Twist of Fate by Carl Otto. The precinct was a hive of activity, the constant hum of ringing phones and the clatter of keyboards filling the air. Detective Sergeant Nathan Williams sat at his desk, his brow furrowed as he pored over the case files sprawled out before him. He was a tall, well-built man in his late 30s, with closely cropped hair that revealed a strong, angular jawline. His rich, dark brown skin spoke of his heritage, while his eyes, deep and soulful, held a wisdom that could only be gained through years of navigating the complexities of the human experience. The fluorescent lights overhead cast a harsh glare on the papers, but Williams barely noticed, his focus entirely consumed by the puzzle pieces he was trying to fit together. He had been working on the Doc's case for months now, ever since that fateful night when his partner, Detective Michael Torres, was gunned down during an undercover operation. The memory of Torres's lifeless body, his blood pooling on the cold concrete, still haunted Williams's dreams. He had vowed then and there to bring those responsible to justice, no matter the cost. A shadow fell across his desk, and Williams looked up to see Captain Vivian Chen standing over him. She was a commanding presence despite her small stature, her sharp features and keen dark eyes missing nothing. Her black hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her perfectly pressed uniform spoke of the same meticulous attention to detail that had propelled her through the ranks. Her expression was grim. "Williams, my office." "Now," she said, her tone brooking no argument. With a sigh, Williams pushed back from his desk and followed the captain into her office, the door closing behind them with a soft click. Chen settled into her chair, her gaze fixed on Williams as he took a seat opposite her. "What's this about, Captain?" Williams asked, his voice tight with barely contained frustration. "I'm in the middle of something big here. I can feel it." Chen leaned forward, her elbows resting on the desk, her fingers steepled. "I know you are, Williams, but I'm afraid I have to pull you off the Doc's case, at least for now." Williams's eyes widened, his hands clenching into fists. "What? Why? Captain, I'm so close to a breakthrough. I can't just walk away from this, not after what happened to Torres." Chen's expression softened, a flicker of sympathy crossing her face. "I understand, Williams. Believe me, I do. But the fact is, the Doc's case has gone cold. We don't have any solid leads, and we can't keep pouring resources into it indefinitely." Williams opened his mouth to protest, but Chen held up a hand, silencing him. "I know how much this means to you, Williams, but we have to be realistic. We're not giving up on the case, but until we have something concrete to go on, I need you on other assignments." Williams slumped back in his chair, his jaw clenched. "So, what's this new case you're putting me on?" Chen slid a file across the desk, the manila folder landing in front of Williams with a soft thud. "Detective Ramirez's wife went into early labor last night. He's going to be out for a while, so I'm splitting his caseload among the rest of you. This one's yours." Williams flipped open the file, his eyes scanning the pages. "James Gray, 45, found dead in his antique shop on River Street. Cause of death, exsanguination due to multiple lacerations. The front door was forced open. No witnesses, no suspects. Sounds like a robbery gone wrong." Chen shook her head. "That's what Ramirez thought at first, too. But there are some oddities about the case that don't quite fit that theory." Williams looked up, his interest piqued despite himself. "What kind of oddities?" Chen leaned back in her chair, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. "For one thing, if it was a robbery, you'd expect something would be missing, but there wasn't. Ramirez already checked with the store manager, Jude Marcellus. And then there's the fact that Gray was found nearly drained of blood, but there was hardly any blood at the scene. It's like someone took it with them." Williams frowned, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Any unusual patterns to the crime scene? Anything ritualistic?" Chen raised an eyebrow. "Funny you should ask. Gray was known to be something of an expert on the occult. He consulted with the department on a few cases over the years, offering insights into some of the more bizarre crimes we've seen." Williams sat up straighter, his eyes widening. "Wait, James Gray? The James Gray? The guy who helped us crack the voodoo killer case last year? I know him." Williams remembered the voodoo killer case, the bizarre crime scenes, the ritualistic elements that had baffled the entire department. Gray had been the one to make sense of it all, to see the pattern where others saw only chaos. Chen nodded. The very same. That's why I'm giving you this case. Your personal knowledge about him gives you an edge. He was an invaluable resource, Williams. His ability to make sense of the inexplicable, to see patterns in cases that defied conventional explanation, was unmatched. We have more than our fair share of weird cult activity here. Losing Gray is a huge blow to the department. Williams stared down at the file, his mind reeling. James Gray had been a legend in the department, a man who seemed to straddle the line between the mundane and the mystical with ease. He had a way of seeing things that others missed, of connecting dots that seemed unrelated to anyone else. If there was anyone who could make sense of the strange and unexplained, it was James Gray. And now he was dead, his murder a mystery that threatened to join the ranks of the unsolved. The thought made Williams's stomach churn, a sense of unease settling over him like a shroud. "I'll take the case," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "If there's even a chance that Gray's death is connected to something occult, I want to be the one to investigate it." "Good, because this isn't a request." She leaned forward, fixing him with a stern look. "Listen carefully, Williams. I want this by the book, regular updates, no lone wolf tactics. I don't want people going into some kind of satanic panic over this. I need someone who can navigate the delicate aspects without stirring up the public, understand?" Williams nodded, already scanning the file's contents. "Yes, Captain. I'll find who did this." "Good," Chen said. "And Williams, be careful. Gray's field of expertise. Well, it attracts weirdos, dangerous weirdos. His death might be just the beginning." Williams nodded, his mind already racing ahead to the investigation. "Understood, Captain. I won't let you down." He stood, the file clutched in his hand, and made his way back to his desk. The case files from the Doc's investigation still lay scattered across his workspace, a bitter reminder of unfinished business. But as Williams spread Gray's file before him, he felt a different kind of urgency. This wasn't just another case. There was something here that tugged at his instincts, something that went beyond ordinary crime. Gray's death was more than just a murder case. It was a doorway into a darker side of Savannah that Williams had only glimpsed during the Voodoo Killer investigation. But Williams was determined to see it through, to uncover the truth no matter where it led him. The precinct had grown quieter as evening approached. The harsh fluorescent lights seemed to intensify against the darkening windows, casting deeper shadows in the corners of the room. The daytime bustle had faded to a skeleton crew, their footsteps echoing in the nearly empty space. Even the constant ring of phones had diminished to occasional bursts, making each sound more pronounced in the growing stillness. It was the kind of quiet that made cops uneasy, the kind that seemed to whisper that something was coming. He reached for his phone, his fingers hovering over the keypad. He had a few calls to make, a few favors to cash in. If he was going to crack this case, he was going to need all the help he could get. As he dialed the first number, he felt a sense of purpose settle over him, a renewed determination to see justice done. James Gray may have been gone, but his legacy lived on, and Williams was determined to honor that legacy by finding the truth, no matter how dark or twisted it might be. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, before an annoyed voice answered on the other end. "Coroner's office, Dr. Hammond speaking." Williams took a deep breath, his grip tightening on the phone. "Dr. Hammond, this is Detective Williams. I need to talk to you about the James Gray autopsy report." There was a pause on the other end of the line, a moment of hesitation, and then her voice softened. "Nathan, I'm not sure what more I can tell you. The report is pretty straightforward." Williams leaned forward, his elbows resting on the desk. "Humor me, Doc. Walk me through it. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything." Dr. Hammond sighed, the sound of shuffling papers filtering through the phone. "All right, Nathan, for you." Williams listened intently as Dr. Hammond went over the details of the autopsy, his mind whirring with each new piece of information. The multiple bite wounds, the near-total exsanguination, the lack of defensive wounds and bruising consistent with rope binds. It all painted a picture of a brutal killing, one that spoke of a level of planning and malice that went beyond a simple robbery gone wrong. "Wait, bite wounds?" Williams asked, his pen poised over his notepad. "The captain only mentioned the lacerations." Dr. Hammond hesitated. the sound of pages turning in the background. God, I hate it when she paraphrases. The majority of the blood loss is from several bites piercing major arterial points. The lacerations were shallow. They were more about pain than blood loss. Williams sat up straighter, his heart pounding in his chest. What do you mean? Were the bites some kind of animal? Like a dog? Not exactly, Dr. Hammond replied, her voice tinged with uncertainty. It has some animal elements that could be canine in nature, but the overall structure looks more human. We're still trying to isolate it, but so far we haven't had much luck. Williams's mind raced, his thoughts spinning with possibilities. Some kind of strange animal could have been involved, one that even the coroner's office couldn't identify. That was the kind of detail that could blow the case wide open, the kind of lead that could take the investigation in an entirely new direction. I need a copy of your findings on that, Dr. Hammond, Williams said, his voice urgent. Can you send it over to me as soon as possible? Wait, is that not in your file already? Hammond sounding a little frustrated. No, it isn't. Must have been some kind of oversight. It's not a problem, just please send me the full file. He replied in a soft tone, trying not to sound accusatory. Of course, Nathan, Dr. Hammond replied, the sound of keys clicking in the background. I'll have it sent over right away. Williams thanked her and hung up the phone, his mind already racing ahead to his next move. He had a feeling that the strange animal bites were just the tip of the iceberg, that there were deeper, darker secrets waiting to be uncovered in the murder of James Gray. As he sat back in his chair, Williams couldn't shake the feeling that this case was connected to something much larger than a simple murder. James Gray had a way of understanding the city's darker undercurrents, the cases that didn't fit neatly into police reports. Could there be a link between the bite marks and the occult artifacts that Gray was known to collect? Williams knew he needed to tread carefully. If he started spouting theories about supernatural creatures and ancient artifacts, he risked losing credibility with his superiors. But he also couldn't ignore the evidence staring him in the face. He needed to find a way to investigate these leads without drawing too much attention to himself. He glanced at the clock on the wall. It was getting late, but he knew he wouldn't be able to sleep until he had a plan of action. He needed to talk to someone who could shed light on the occult elements of the case, someone who could help him navigate this unfamiliar territory. William's thoughts drifted to Connor McQueen, the mysterious owner of Kevin Barry's pub. He remembered seeing McQueen and Gray deep in conversation during the voodoo killer case, their hushed voices and serious expressions suggesting they shared more than just a casual friendship. McQueen was known for his insights into Savannah's shadowy side, and Gray had mastered the art of navigating the city's darker mysteries. Williams recalled how Gray and McQueen would retreat to a corner of the pub during that investigation, speaking in low tones about things that seemed to go beyond the scope of the case. At the time, he'd written it off as Gray's typical eccentricity, but now those whispered conversations took on a new significance. Williams hesitated, his fingers hovering over his phone. Reaching out to McQueen was a gamble. The man was notoriously elusive and had a reputation for playing his cards close to the chest. There was no guarantee that he would be willing to help, or that his information would be reliable. But the detective knew he had to take the chance. The strange bite marks, the lack of defensive wounds, the rumors about Gray's involvement in Savannah's more enigmatic cases. It all pointed to something far more sinister than a simple murder. If this case was connected to the dark world that Gray had inhabited, then McQueen's insights could be invaluable. Williams picked up his phone, his jaw set with determination. He owed it to Gray, to Torres, and to the people of Savannah to pursue this lead, no matter where it took him. He was stepping into the unknown, but the possibility that this murder was connected to something far bigger, something that threatened the very fabric of the city, steeled his resolve. The game was on, and Detective Sergeant Nathan Williams was determined to uncover the truth, no matter how deep he had to dig or how dark the secrets might be.